Republican Congressman from Florida, Mike Haridopolos. Thank you very much for being here on your Sunday.
Thank you, Laura.
All right, so we're going to get to Spirit Airlines in just a moment, but first we want to begin with Iran because it is one of our big top stories, and I've got to ask you what you think of Trump already casting doubt on Iran's new peace proposal and saying that new strikes are possible. That sounds like a warning.
Well, it should be a warning. As you've seen, the Iranians cannot tell the truth. They have a history of backtracking. They have not told the truth about missile production, let alone nuclear production. And as you know, and you mentioned earlier in your show today, this has been a thorn in the side in America since 1979. They're shooting at their neighbors. But the positive of this is that their neighbors have said enough is enough with Iran. We're going to side with the United States and Israel to take on this big bully once and for all. And I'm glad to see the president fully prosecuting this because this is what every president has asked for since 1979. And President Trump stepped up and he's doing the right thing to make sure that the threat is eliminated long term. We're all feeling the prices, of course, at the pump, but this is a short-term problem for a long-term peace gain. And that's why I hope the president can be successful and not accept a bogus deal, much like what happened with President Obama when we gave them a ton of money. But, of course, they went right back to their lies.
Sure. I also wanted to ask you about your colleagues, the chairman of the House and Senate Armed Services Committee, Republican Senator Roger Wicker, and Congressman Mike Rogers, both raised concerns over Trump's decision to withdraw those 5,000 troops from Germany that we've been talking about this weekend. They wrote in a statement, quoting in part, quote, prematurely reducing America's forward presence in Europe risks undermining deterrence and sending the wrong signal to Vladimir Putin. So we've got that statement from both. Do you agree?
Well, of course, I respect both of those, man. But we look at the big picture here. We have about 36,000 troops in Germany currently, our largest hold. About 5,000 will be moved. But remember that the most forward positions are in Romania, Poland, and the Baltics. And so I would imagine that we'll move those 5,000 to other important positions. Of course, there is vital areas in Germany. I actually visited one last summer where we move our troops around, not just for the United States, but potential NATO actions. But this is not withdrawing them to the United States, it's putting them in a position where the most threats exist. And as you know, we have a lot of challenges in that region right now, most specifically right now, Iran. But we are moving troops to the best possible location. Just because they were in Germany before does not mean they're not going to keep them in the most vital strategic locations possible.
Yeah, and also the State Department approved $8.6 billion in arms sales to several Gulf nations. You know, so as a member of the House Financial Services Committee, what do you say to voters who want the administration to focus on domestic affordability instead of foreign wars? That's a narrative that we have heard for a pretty long time.
Well, a couple things. One is that we are finally telling our NATO friends they need to start spending more. As at this point right now, Germany spends a little bit more than 2% of their GDP on the military. They need to step up and do more of their part. We're very disappointed in countries like Spain, who wouldn't even allow us to fly over their land, of course, in our conflict with Iran. As far as the spending goes, as you know, we expended a lot of materials in Ukraine. And to make sure we are safe, we need to put the dollars forward to replenish our arms. And it's something that was part of the big, beautiful bill from last July to make sure that America is strong. And I think that's the smart decision to make. Always make sure that you're ready for war because we expended so much helping Ukraine for the last few years.
Yeah. Also want to get your take on the midterms looking ahead. President Trump's disapproval rating is reaching a new high. We're talking 62%. That is according to the latest Washington Post poll. So, from where you're sitting, what does the Republican Party have to do to win its key races and keep control of Congress in November? I mean, tick-tock, it's coming.
Oh, no, look, and let's be really candid about this. With gas prices higher, of course, voters are upset. But I think most voters also recognize this is an aberration. It's because of the conflict in Iran. Of course, we're making up for that oil depletion because of our new relationship with Venezuela. We're also producing more oil here in the United States, which is all a positive. And finally, the idea is that, remember, this is about choices. The Republicans actually backed up their promises. You remember the biggest election issue of 2024 was securing the border. We've done that. Now we need to extract those people who not only broke the law coming here, but broke the law here, committing many violent or sexual offenses. And finally, remember, we're the ones who actually backed up our promises on no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. And people, when they see their new tax returns, I think are going to be happy. So this is a November election. It's not a May election. Even back in May of 2020, when Barack Obama was quite popular, he lost big time in November 2010. So we think we're much the same. We keep our promises, and the alternative is higher taxes and more government. We think we have a winning combination that will contrast very much with what the Democrats are talking about right now.
And let's also talk about the vice president. Vance is heading to Iowa with Republican Congressman Zach Nunn on Tuesday to showcase advancements in manufacturing. A lot of people watching this part as well. Do you think that this effort is enough for Republicans to win over voters concerned about the economy in that sector?
Well, look, as you know, in Iowa, this is a very, very competitive state. We have both a Senate race and two competitive House races. Of course, you never know about 2028. But that said, we need to get out there more and promote what we've done. What I take the most pride in is that we said we would secure the border and stop the largest tax increase in American history and actually lower taxes for people hardest hit by inflation. We've done that. And again, as people are frustrated by higher gas prices, we want to remind them there are clear choices. Bigger government with the Democrats or more money in your pockets with Republicans. That's going to be our message, and I hope it's a winning message. And I, more importantly, want to say, if nothing else, we keep our promises. Good policy is good politics, not the other way around, in my opinion.
And I've got to ask you about Spirit Airlines. Wondering, number one, do you ever fly Spirit Airlines? Because, as you know, they declared bankruptcy twice in 2024. And then we had this big fallout yesterday. Secretary Sean Duffy calling out the Biden administration for blocking the merger that may have changed things for the airline. Let's take a listen to that.
There was a proposed merger between JetBlue and Spirit. And Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg, along with the Biden DOJ, decided that they did not want that merger to take place. And in this situation, history has judged the denial of the merger between JetBlue and Spirit through the Biden administration with, I think, a view that it was a massive mistake.
You know, Senator Elizabeth Warren clapping back, posting on X, quote, JetBlue merger failed because a judge appointed by Ronald Reagan said the deal was illegal. So, you know, we need to break it down. But what do you have to say to travelers who counted on Spirit's discounts and those 17,000 Spirit employees and contractors who woke up this weekend out of a job and again with the midterms exactly 6 months away?
Well, and first of all, my heart goes out to the 17,000 employees across the country, especially here in Florida. But it just shows where the government should stay out of business like this. Remember, we want more competition. And if you take away Spirit Airlines, you have fewer competitors. We had the opportunity back in 2024 to actually merge JetBlue and Spirit, both low-cost airlines versus the big boys. And what did the big Democrat government types do? They said no to that proposal and then bragged about it. And now these folks are really scrambling. And, of course, all the travelers this week who were booked on Spirit, you know, just think how chaotic their lives will be this week. And Elizabeth Warren spiking the football and bragging about it, and then has the gall to say that it's a 1 month aberration in oil prices that caused this. It just shows how the disconnect is in between Washington and reality, and why we should allow mergers when companies need them to stay afloat so that the consumer wins, as opposed to politicians trying to think they're the CEO of a company.
Listen, it's going to be a big week ahead as this fallout continues. And we've been talking with our reporter over there at Newark Airport. People were really caught off guard yesterday. Even though there were warning signs that this was coming, there were people that showed up to the airport. And even there was one woman that we spoke to that was offered an upgrade to her flight Friday night for a Saturday morning flight, and then she showed up and the airline's out of business. So there's a lot more questions here that need to be answered, and I'm glad that you were able to come on the program today. Florida Republican Congressman Mike Haridopolos, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.